Hi guys, and welcome to another Betfair Trading Community.com video. And today I'm going to talk about how I use the stats software to obviously find my selections, but mainly I want to show you how I put them into an Excel spreadsheet and how I use it to test or to just make my selections for that time. So obviously, first of all, I go to betfairtradingcommunity.com, log in. And when I get to the dashboard, all I'm going to do is click Stats Software over here. You don't need to click any of the subsections that come down. Just click Stats Software because that automatically reverts to football stats. And as you can see here, I've actually already got it loaded. So I'm just going to go to that quickly. So this is what comes up, obviously. Now, I've got my filters that I've preset. If you haven't seen the videos on how I preset filters, I've got a few very basic examples of how to do it that you can follow and that you can learn from just to get to grips with the software. I'm just going to go my qualifiers. You can pick any filter for this. So I'm just going to pick my both teams to score no filter. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to export all. Okay, you can just export the one if you want to do it one at a time. Or if you've even got just one filter, I suppose it doesn't matter either way if you've only got one filter. But I just go export all so I can get all the data in one. And then obviously it will open this up in whatever you use. So say you use Word, it should normally do it in there. If not, I use LibreOffice because it was free. I don't actually use this software, funnily enough, for the actual testing spreadsheets, but I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so we're going to get these filter results up. Now, I've already put in the filters up until the 23rd of August morning. So I did that yesterday. So what I'm really looking for is the results after the morning of the 23rd. So basically, anything from sort of 9, 10 a.m. onwards on the 23rd until probably the 24th. I probably won't go to the 25th yet because it's currently the 22nd. So what I tend to do is I tend to look sort of a day and a half in advance because obviously stats can change in 3 days. So say a team plays another game or there's some kind of influence on the stats software. I like to do it about a day and a half before just to make sure it doesn't change. And as you can see here, so with the both teams to score no one, I've got two selections in my time frame. But obviously, if you just want to lift them all, you can. If I hadn't done it yesterday, I wouldn't have had these selections above. So I'm just gonna paste, Control C, copy, and then minimize that. And then I come to my spreadsheet. Okay, just gonna click it. I use Google Drive. Now, what I've got here, as you can see, is I've got 5 filters. Along the bottom here. So I'm just going to click both teams to score no right at the bottom here. And as you can see, I've already got the 3 I mentioned above. So I'm just going to click here. And what I will get is that match selection, which actually what I normally do. So what you can do is you can have the match filter, the match ID, sorry. You can include that if you want. I don't bother including that in my spreadsheets. So I just delete that column. I forgot to do that this time. Doesn't really matter. You can just do it once you put the selections into your main spreadsheet anyway. And then I'm just going to copy that again, go back and paste. And as you can see, really easy. I've got my 2 selections there. I'll go and check out what the odds were on both teams to score no, what they are, after I've lifted the selections in. So that's my first filter. My second filter is under 2.5 goals basic. So as you can see, I've got everything up until the 23rd's morning. So I need after that. Just going to go to basic here. It's under 2.5 basic, which is there. And I've got everything up until the morning. So actually nothing for that, which means that the semi and elite won't have anything because those 2 filters are just basically sub filters of the basic one. Supposed to refine things a little bit more. So the last one we need to look at here is my under 1.5 goals filter. I've got everything up until, well, I've got Gremio, so I've got everything here. So what I'll do, I'll just get these ones and go back to my under 1.5 filter spreadsheet, and again paste that straight in. So I mean, you can imagine the amount of time that will save you doing it that way. So I like to, like I say, if you have got a few filters, I like to have it all exported onto one page, then just lift the bits of info I need. It doesn't take long, does it? I mean, how long's that taken me? Next to no time. And that's with 5 filters. So if you've got 10, maybe double that time, it's still not that long. It's probably a more, like I say, a more streamlined way of doing it. But this is just how I do it. Now, what I like about these spreadsheets is they're pretty basic, you know, in terms of they're pretty easy to do. What I'm looking for a lot of the time is the odds, a halftime score, the full time score. Did the bet win outright? Was it tradable for a good profit? And obviously, how, you know, the total. So which every game gets a 1 for total because every game is one game. And that's, I use these 3 columns to work out the stats and maths about the results. P&L obviously is there. It's just the sum of M, so the sum of that. The win percentage, which is the sum of the win column versus the sum of the total column, which actually quite a low win percentage for even under 1.5, 31%, but it's actually got a nice profit at the moment. This just as an outright filter, but still early days. And then what I really like is the trade percentage, which obviously is the sum of K and the sum of L. So where this stat will often come from is basically I'll look at matches. Was it possible to get a good trading green at some point? If no, then that's it. It's a losing trade as far as I'm concerned. If yes, it's a winning one. So this is assuming that you will keep the trade going if it doesn't go your way. So obviously, if it doesn't go your way, you know, in that sense, you would be looking at a full stake loss. But obviously, the trade percentage is so high on these so far that it is worth actually just letting that run and just seeing, right, if I can grab a good profit, I'll take it, because often in these, a lot of them don't have goals before 20 minutes. And even if they do, they'll often come another point in the match where you might be able to get a profit. I've noticed a lot of late goals seem to fly in with these. So just having a look actually at the filters. I've looked as well what odds I think of value. So at the moment, I'm tracking all odds because I'm testing. So I'm going to test for 3 months. As you can see in the title, goals testing 12th of August to 11th of November. So on 11th of November, I can start to make some true conclusions. But it's interesting at the moment just to look at it, even in these early days, just to see that the trends are quite similar. Interesting, even though these are different matches, different filters for different markets. Actually, some of the results are similar, especially in the trade category, which is where I'm really interested with these, because I don't really want outright bets. It's not what I do. You know, we're Betfair trading community, and we believe that a big part of our edge is the fact we trade, don't let things run. You know, when things go for us, we go with it and take it rather than letting it run and maybe see things slip away. So yeah, so on this one, both teams score no at the moment. The actual P&L of outright it would be losing slightly, so down about 1 point, and a 47% win rate. But interesting, the trade percent win rate is 90.48, which is incredible. You know, if you can keep that up, then obviously you're going to be making very good profits. The unders basic filter, under 2.5 goals this market we're looking at. Again, actually very similar win-loss record here, although the win percentage is a bit higher because a lot of these are quite short odds sometimes. Well, around 1.6. But the trade percentage is 91%, so slightly higher, very high. Again, early days, but, you know, promising signs. Same with the under 2.5 goals, the semi-pro one I call it, because it's a better, well, it's supposed to be a better filter than the basic. Doesn't necessarily work out that way, but it's just got a few more parameters that seem to make sense. Um, so yeah, and the P&L there is -16. So again, fairly similar win rate. The trade percentage goes up considerably again. So you're looking at nearly 96%, which is, let's be honest, just insane. But yeah, it's brilliant, and that's why these filters and this software is so genius. And what Adam's done is incredible for me, because we're finding things where we go, you know what, this match should be unders, or there's value in unders here. Let's jump it, but we won't let it run out, because even if a match starts the way we think it should, by the 60th, 70th minute, I think I've noticed a lot of late goals, and maybe one of the reasons for that is teams tired, but also that if substitutions are made and things like that, it can affect what the outcome will be. So a lot of the time, teams will go for it a bit more towards the end of a match if they need a result, or they'll make substitutions trying to find a goal. So that first 60, 70-minute period can be our golden egg, really, with making money on these unders. Again, looking at the elite one, it'll be similar because some of the selections are similar, although it's, again, supposed to be more refined. Again, slightly down, not much. I mean, only 1 point can change very easily. And the outrights, but obviously outright isn't really what I'm interested in anyway. Win percentage 52%, again similar. Again, trade percentage up at 95%, which obviously you're going to be making very good money if these sort of trends continue. I would kind of be happy around the 80% mark, maybe even slightly lower. So if it keeps at this rate, I'm very happy. Under 1.5 goals, very basic under 1.5 goals filter this, just to find some value in the unders markets. And it's actually got a few more selections, but again, still early days. As you can see, this is the one that's actually made some money in the outright. So you'd be about 5 points up backing. Obviously, that can swing so quickly in an under 1.5 market where you're backing often at odds above 3.0. You can quite easily have 5 losers in a row. I mean, there's a period here, 1, 2, 3, 4, where we've had 8 in a row outright. But again, what interests me here is you've got a win percentage of 31.48, yet you'll make a trade profit on these matches 85% of the time. So it's actually really encouraging to see that, because I think a lot of people test things, they look at results, and when they're testing, they don't necessarily see, could I have traded out for a good profit? They just look at it as, right, did it win, did it lose? But as we know, trading is just not as simple as that for us, and that's why we make the money we do, because we're not relying on something happening for the whole 90 minutes the whole time. We're just going, there's value here. Once it's hit our target, we'll take a profit. And at these sort of trade percentages, you can even afford to let the ones that don't go your way run a bit in the hope that it will turn around later in the game, which we have actually seen a fair bit of, especially in the under 2.5 goals market, where one goal is not the end of the world. Of course, you could take a loss if there is a goal in the first 20 minutes. It wouldn't, especially if it's towards the 19th, 18th minute, it wouldn't necessarily be that big of a loss anyway. And it would be interesting to see if you did take it at that point, how that would compare in terms of trade percentage wins. I might actually add that one on once I've finished testing and actually just go back through and see, right, what was the first goal time? It might be something I'll add on now, actually. That's quite a good idea. But yeah, so you see just how doing something like this can really get your testing juices flowing, and start to get your brain working about it. And actually, you're almost teaching yourself, because the stats software allows us to do that. And as you can see, these are pretty incredible results so far. Very early days. I mentioned in one of the other videos, I think, but if you didn't hear it earlier, the reason I like unders at the moment is because I think people tend to go for goals when they bet a lot. So people want there to be goals. Um, so I think the market's a little bit in favour too much of overs rather than unders. Obviously, there's certain leagues like maybe the Brazilian leagues, which we find a lot of selections come from on this, where the market does expect unders quite heavily. But on the ones where it doesn't, where we think, hey, there's a good chance this is unders, you can quite often get some very good prices. Um, and especially with something like both teams to score no, where actually even the shorter odds, it's very rare that you're going to get anything below, um, 1.8. It's I mean, the percentage of ones below 1.8 compared to the other ones. And bear in mind, I'm still testing all odds at the moment. I will filter this and try and find out which odds work best in terms of making that good trading profit. Um, but yeah, so this is just basically how I do it. As you can see, it hasn't taken me long. I can now go through Betfair and just have a look at these games and the odds, see which ones have liquidity. Hopefully, all of them will have at least some liquidity. Um, if they don't, remember to check back, say an hour before kickoff, because often that will be the best time for liquidity. So don't get too disillusioned, even if you turn on at, say, 9 a.m. and your match is at 9 p.m. that night and there's literally no money in the market, because even in those sort of, say, those obscure South American leagues, the money will start to come, say, sort of 6, 7, 8 o'clock. And you can always ask for a price. If you think what the price should be, and you think what the value is, you can always ask for a price and even be a little bit cheeky and ask for a slightly higher price. And you'll be surprised how often those do get matched, because if you're the only one offering a price and someone wants to take it on or back it, they don't really have a choice other than to take your price unless they're willing to be patient, which a lot of people and a lot of traders aren't, sadly for them, but good for us. So yeah, it's a really sort of a basic way of doing things, but it works for me and it helps me test. And like I say, it hasn't taken me long, has it? Actually doing the work when I wasn't explaining maybe took, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. Even on weekends, you're probably looking at maximum 15, 20 minutes to get the data into here and check it through Betfair. Also, if you filter more leagues and things like that, and you do have less selections and your filters are a bit tighter, you will find that obviously it takes even less time. But this isn't something I could have done without the software, and that's the main point. Really, is that this software is the absolute key for getting all this data and information. So it's really helped my trading, and anything that can save you time, hey, it's well worth having in this world where we don't have enough time a lot of the time, especially for us with families, or like me, if you've got a little nipper running about your heels all day. You really need to find ways to cut the time where you can. Now, if you're into bots and things like that, which isn't really an area I do, I like to trade myself. I don't know, maybe it's a paranoia. I just don't quite trust letting a bot do it for me. I do often hear, I mean, even on our forum, I've heard of people who've had horrible experiences of losing a lot of money with them. So, but they do work for a lot of people as well. So, I'm not trying to put anyone off it. I'm just saying, for me personally, it's not what I do. But if you did do that and you like bots, then you're laughing, because you can get this stuff all set up, trade out after 20 minutes or whatever, at half time, something like that, and you're going to make some serious money. So um, let's hope these continue in this way, these tests. But yeah, so whatever you're testing, really, this is just to show you that it's pretty easy to set these up. I might set up one of these spreadsheets actually and share it, so that there's a template for people to use, because I do just think they're so good for testing this stuff. And I think a lot of people just don't want to create their own or don't know how. And this isn't the most advanced. Some people are going to be using things that come up with 10, 20 different um, results when you put in the profit loss and things like that. But this does what I need. And if I want to add columns and test other things, it's very easy to do. I've actually got a different one that I'm just going to show you quickly as well, which is based on one strategy that I've been testing a little bit longer, which is it's the same as the unders basic strategy, but I've got a minimum odds here on the 2.5, which I'm just going to highlight here. I'll click it again just in case you didn't see that where the little blue thing is now. And basically, it needs to be above 1.8. If the under 2.5 goals odds aren't above 1.8, it's not a pick. And interestingly, on this one, actually the outrights are making a very nice profit. So at the moment, still early days. We've only had like 22 selections, but on the 2.5, it's 44. So what I started testing was okay, because I started noticing, wait, quite a few of these go under 1.5, and quite a few of these, both teams don't score. So I thought, well, I'll test those two markets as well on this same filter. And you can do that even afterwards. You can do it because there's things like, I mean, I just use Bet Explorer, really easy to go back and check all the bookies odds and averages, and you can assume that Betfair's going to be slightly better than those odds. So if you use those odds and it's still profitable, then you're definitely onto a winner, in my opinion. There, if you test it for like the 3-month period that I like to test, but yeah, so this one's had nearly a month now. 1.5 is a similar profit level. Again, it's a market that fluctuates a lot, though. But interesting that both teams to score no, the profit is really high. So, yeah, you're looking at what? Well, at the moment, it's about 8 points up because I haven't put the Breeder Blick score in yet. But again, like you see, the odds have to be there. The trade percentage isn't quite as high, interestingly. So I think it shows that obviously with the higher odds, the trades are less likely to be successful, which kind of makes sense. But also doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, because when the odds do come in on these, they will probably come in a little bit more quickly, just purely because the market odds have further to go down. So, if something starts at 1.6, it's not going to it's going to take a while for it to get really short, isn't it? But say it starts at 2.24, those odds can come into 1.5. It's not going to take that long, because, if it does go, say, 30, 40 minutes without a goal, the market will start to panic. Whereas on the other one, the market was kind of expecting it anyway, so it will come in, and it's just the fact that a 1.6 shot is like 60 ticks, so it has to come in at a certain rate. It can't come in much quicker than that, because it's only got 60 ticks to come in anyway. Whereas obviously, say you get it at like I think there's one here at 2.44. Well, that's nearly double the ticks, isn't it? So it's got to come in gradually that way. It'll come in a little bit quicker, maybe twice as quickly, actually, when you think about it in terms of the ticks. So it's quite interesting. But yeah, basically, if you notice on your filter, say you're testing for something, so like I was originally testing for under 2.5 goals. So say you're doing that, well, why not then go, right, okay, I've noticed something here, because what I like to do is I notice things about these filters. I notice, right, what's happening with the results, and then turn around and go, hang on a second, this might be profitable in a different market. I'm going to test that market now. You can have a look back at the odds. I don't really need to do that here because I'm already tracking those for us. But what I might find is on this other spreadsheet that I get a similar thing where I go, okay, um, you know, this isn't doing that well as a both teams to score no filter, but maybe an under 2.5 goals thing will be worth testing, more. Um, and then I can go back through something like Bet Explorer and have a look there. And if it's profitable through there, it will definitely have been profitable on Betfair, because you will get better odds with Betfair than you will with the bookmakers. So yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on it. That's what I do. Quite a detailed video today, I understand that. But obviously, if you just pick up on some of the basic stuff of transferring from the stats software to a spreadsheet, it's very simple, isn't it? And definitely saves you a lot of time and money, just trying to work it all out, or even missing out on trades, because you never want to do that. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with another video soon.